In every suburb, in every city, in every country, in every nation, poverty reigns and thrives in the lower sections of every economy. Wealth is distributed unequally. Some are born with a silver spoon in their mouths, while others struggle to survive under the mountains over mountains of debt, money, and bills. But how did this gap come to be, and what does it mean for our future? What would we become? How can we survive? And perhaps most importantly, how can we resolve this? To further investigate this problem, we have interviewed 7 participants and gained insights on their thoughts, experiences, and perspectives on this global issue. Socio-economic inequality. What is it really like to live in another person's shoes, to view life from a different place, to have things you didn't have? This is Anne Deng and Celine Moon's documentary, The Price of Privilege. Here is Jacob Wu and his past experiences.
Do you believe that you are rich or poor based on your living conditions and opportunities?
I have seen many places in New Zealand, many houses that are very old, dilapidated, and our house for one is very new, very good, 2 stories, and we also have 2 very good cars. They're German, which is very good. So I believe that based on these living conditions, on the opportunities that I was given by my parents and their love for me, I certainly am very rich.
Since you are from a wealthy family, as you said, did you get exposed to money at a young age?
I didn't actually experience wealth in the conventional sense. My family didn't live lavish lifestyles or show off their money. Even though we had all we needed and much more, we didn't prioritize money. I had greater success and access to opportunities that made me more joyful and aided my development, as well as love and emotional support. Even though we were materially wealthy, the love was what gave me the sense of abundance.
Do you believe that you are rich or poor based on your living conditions and opportunities?
I think my financial resources can support my living condition, such as this house I own. It's totally sufficient enough for me.
Right. Did you have to do anything as a child to help your family?
No, I don't need to.
Why do you think that way?
It's because they don't need my help or assistance. Because, when I'm trying to help them, they're like, no, you're just a kid, you don't know how to do anything. Go shoot, go play with your Legos or something like that.
Do you think you would have been happier if you were born into a wealthy or poor family?
I think I would be happier if I was born in a poor family. You know why? Because they need my help. It gave me a sense of feeling that I'm needed. I can support other people rather than just be alone by myself.
If I had been born into a family that was richer or poorer, I doubt that my level of happiness would have been altered significantly. I've come to the realization that genuine relationships, love, and support, rather than material wealth, are the true sources of happiness. I have always believed in the saying, blood is thicker than water, and I have discovered that the emotional wealth I inherited from my upbringing is considerably more significant to me than tangible possessions.
What do you think are the main differences between the rich and the poor?
I think that the main difference between the rich and the poor is that the fact that rich people definitely have more access and significant more opportunities on their list and many goals that the poor people can't do, while the poor people, they are in a web created by the earth the moment they were born, and they only have limited options and they can't go out of there. But of course, that's not true for all poor people, but it is true for most, if not a lot of them.
Trust me, the difference is huge. The rich can go buy a MacBook Pro, and the poor can only get a Chromebook. Like, people are getting like treated differently due to their like resources.
Right. Because of this, did you have any disadvantages or advantages growing up?
Yes, I had a lot of advantages. Like, I got a MacBook Pro. I'm 3 Pro chips. MacBook Pro. I'm 3 Pro chips Space Black when I was 13 years old, and I felt really proud of it.
Have you ever wondered about how your economic situation would affect your future plans?
Yes, it will. Since I'm planning to be an investor, which you need the fundamental money to do that. So.
You're very wealthy currently. So have you ever had a moment when you realized just how severe the gap between the wealthy and the rest of the society was?
I had many, yes, and one experience stayed with me and my man even until now. It was when my friends and I were walking in the city and we saw a beggar. While my friends were distracted by the McDonald's they were eating, yes, they had a lot, they had a drink, they had large fries, and they had a large Big Mac, yes, extra large. I saw him and the pitiful shape he was in. I felt at that moment very nauseous and made me ponder deeply about the disparities of the rich and the poor.
If you had the power to create a policy that would address all of wealth inequality, what would it look like? And how would it affect society or individuals?
If I had the power to create a policy, I'd focus on providing more equal access to opportunities for everyone, regardless of their background. This could include better education, more job opportunities, and access to essential resources. By addressing the lack of agency and opportunities for the less fortunate, I believe we could create a more fair and balanced society where everyone has a chance to succeed and live a meaningful life.
I will make the rich become richer and the poor become poorer. It won't benefit for everyone, but it will benefit for me, for myself.
Why do you think that way?
I can be richer, dollar, 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 money, money, money.
Let's take a look at some of the adults' opinions. This is Amy Wu.
你小时候的经济状况如何呢？
小的时候从小学阶段，我们家是比较富有的，然后那个时候就是爸爸妈妈都上班，然后当时市场上出来了新的产品，比如说电视机啊、电话呀，然后还有就是看电影的那个摄影，叫什么，反正能放电影的那个机器，然后我们家都是最新有的，还有冰箱啊，还有地毯啊，反正当时是生活非常富有的。然后等上初中的时候，因为家庭的变动，这个经济状况就慢慢的不如小学的时候那么好。对。
I would say that being financially stable had a very positive impact in my life growing up as a child.
相对来说算贫穷也不算吧，但是生活的感觉来说应该不算富有的。
那你为什么这么认为呢？
首先我们这一代人小的时候在中国，那个时候基本上可以说所有的人都是穷的，只是穷的程度略有不同而已，然后很难有人真正说自己是富有的，在那个时候因为物质非常匮乏。然后我小的时候呢，因为我家的家庭情况属于因为我的父亲有一定的残疾，所以他没有能力挣更多的钱，然后所以相对来说我的家庭就会比周围其他的身边的家庭更窘迫一些。在我很小的时候，我妈妈就打算因为家里很穷，所以她得想办法 改善整个家庭的状况，所以我在很小的时候，我妈妈就不工作了，然后出去经营她的生意。在这个过程中，她其实挣的钱其实可能也许比身边的平均水平反而要多一些，但并不因为她挣的更多了，你的生活感觉就变得富有了，因为她投入了几乎所有的时间在工作和挣钱上面，所以她基本没有时间打理家，也没有时间去也没有这个条件真正把挣来的钱用于改善家里的生活条件。所以很多的钱可能变成了一个储蓄，攒在他的银行账户里，但是从生活感觉来说，你的感觉仍然是窘迫的，你的家里仍然是缺东少西、破破烂烂的这种感觉。
제가 어린 시절을 생각해 봤을 때 제 할머니가 상당히 부자셨던 걸로 기억합니다. 근데 그 할머니가 돌아가신 13살 이후로는 제가 굉장히 가난한 축에 속했다고 생각합니다. 물론 제3세계 아이들처럼 뭐 배고픔에 시달리고 고통받고 그럴 정도로 엄청 가난했단 말은 아니지만 장난감도 주변 아이들처럼 원하는 거 가질 수 있고 사고 싶은 거 사고 뭐 학원도 제가 다니고 싶다고 다닐 수 있는 것도 아니고 외식도 뭐 마음대로 할 수 있었던 것도 아니었기 때문에 거기다가 저는 학창 시절에 과외와 파트타임 아르바이트 같은 것들을 해서 학비도 제가 대야 많이 보탰고 집안 생활비까지 제가 보탰던 기억들이 있습니다. 그래서 상대적으로 순수하게 제가 뭐 공부에만 투자할 수 있는 물리적인 시간이 많이 부족했고 주변 가끔의 잘 사는 친구들이 갈 수 있는 해외 유학 등은 저는 뭐 상상조차 해본 적도 없었으면서 많은 것을 포기하는 것에 익숙해져 있었던 것 같습니다. 그래서 제가 가난했다고 생각합니다.
Okay, I was not extremely poor. But I would put myself on the poor side because at that time, I had food, clean clothing, and a decent education. My parents can afford that. But other than that, I don't have much money to spend for luxury or for leisure or for allowance. So let's say I'm relatively poor at that time.
You mentioned that your parents were dirt poor, but later came back up. How
Mhm.
did they do that? And do you think it was hard?
Uh, I'm very sure they come out of the abyss of poverty by education, by get a decent education in their environment. And it was extremely hard. I can give you one example. When my father was a teenager and attending a country middle school, that is a rare phenomenon at that time because most of the children wouldn't get the chance to go to middle school and they would remain illiterate for life. But my dad and my mom all got literate. That is a great achievement at that time. So for my dad to attend the middle school, he had to walk like 5 miles to the school. And of course, that can't be done every day. So he only got home once each month. And the school didn't provide like dining or cafeteria. That's impossible at the time. So the students have to feed themselves by carrying raw rice, I mean uncooked rice from home to the school at the time. And they have to do it every month. So my dad at the beginning of every month would carry like 20 kilos of raw rice by foot and walk to the school and cook for himself each day. So you can imagine everything else. That's how hard it was.
那你刚才提到过你的父母经济状况随着你的成长会有一些恶化，这是什么导致他们的衰落呢？
一是就是因为他们的职业选择发生了变化。之前他们就是选择了稳定的这个叫国有企业的工作吧，然后在初中阶段，然后他们父亲呢是选择他要自己经商，然后所以这样就会有很多的风险。然后我的妈妈呢，她是选择 回老家生我妹妹，所以他当时丢掉了工作，所以就是说从原来的有2个稳定的工作，然后后来变成了有1个很不稳定的工作，这就是家庭变故我说的。
那你父母现在的生活好些了吗？
是的，就是其实他们经商的这些年，其实是攒下了不算特别大的一笔财富，但是相对于身边的人来说，其实已经远好于平均水准。然后，所以这些年制约他们，没有办法改善自己生活条件的最大的原因，不是钱上的原因，而是时间上的原因。他们几乎投入了一天中的24个小时里面的16个小时，然后用来做生意，所以他们没有自己的个人时间。他们即使把生活的环境弄得很好，他们甚至也没有时间去享受。所以这就是在他们真正退休以后，有了大把的时间，然后他们的整个生活条件和生活状况才真正的肉眼可见的好了起来。
네. 당신의 주변에 있는 사람들 중에 돈 때문에 고생하는 사람들이 있나요?
네, 그렇습니다. 제가 어린 시절 살던 동네는 그렇게 잘 사는 지역이 아니었습니다. 그래서 그 동네 살던 많은 지인들이 그때도 그렇고 지금도 그렇고 소수를 제외하고는 적은 임금과 높은 생활비 그리고 교육비의 제한, 격차 등으로 힘들어하고 있는 것 같습니다. 심지어 일부는 경제적으로나 교육적으로나 자신이 굉장히 소외되고 있다는 사실 자체를, 그 상태를 인지하지 못하고 있는 것으로 알고 있습니다. 아주 어린 시절에 친구들이 공부를 정말 잘했거나 자기 분야에서 굉장히 뛰어냈던 친구들 아주 소수를 빼고는, 그리고 대학교나 사회에서 만난 지인들과는 다르게 제 청소년 시절의 친구들은 여전히 경제적으로 고통받고 그 굴레에서 벗어나지 못하는 것을 볼 수 있습니다.
Of course, there are people around me who have or are facing some financial difficulties because raising kids and leading a family or raising a family is not that easy these days. But because I don't have to face or have faced any of these issues, I think I was privileged in that sense. And it's also thanks to my parents and thanks to my family who are supporting me and aiding me in that way. I think I'm lucky that I don't have to think of how I will make ends meet or when is my next paycheck due. I don't really have to worry about that. And thanks to that, I'm more able to focus on other stuff that are or might be important to me. So I think not having to worry about these issues are kind of the privilege that I have in my life and for the rest of my family as well.
I took the reunion with my primary school classmates, middle school classmates, university classmates, and once in a while for my USA university college classmates. And there is a huge impression on that I had been step up the ladder one by one, because coming to watch and understand the situation of each group of my classmates, I can see a clear pattern. The preliminary school classmates, they were I can't say they were poor, but they mostly do manual jobs and not very advanced on the social ladder or on the confidence or on the whole, maybe even health situation at that group. But in the middle school group, it improved much better. They live in much better condition. And for my university students, they come from Tsinghua University, the #1 university in China. Most of them are accomplished and confident and wealthy and advanced in career. Some of them are professors, scientists, and great engineers. and nearly half of them established themselves abroad, taking decent jobs and having a good life. So there is a clear pattern there. With the advance of education, a normal preschool, a good, decent middle school, and a prestigious university, and studying abroad, you can see the people, by statistics, advancing their careers and the wealth by that ladder. That's an extremely clear pattern for me.
你刚才是说富人还有穷人，你认为这两种人之间有哪些主要的区别吗？
我觉得最主要的区别就是富人他可以依靠自己已经有的资产，然后来让他的资产就是加倍增值。他不需要按部就班的像一个工薪阶层或者像一个这个底层就是你说的穷人吧，穷人阶层，然后他需要为这个日常的生活开支，比如说基本的吃穿住用行，然后每天的去发愁去挣工资，他们在这些就是基础的方面，他们已经得到了满足。然后在这个之上呢，他们会做对自己的资产，然后进行资源再分配啊，然后让他们的资源从一个小的雪球，然后慢慢滚到一个大的雪球。但是对于穷人来说，他每天可能最发愁的就是下一顿饭有没有，然后因为他们的收入是按照每一周来的，他每一周有一定的收入，然后他要合理安排这每一周的钱，然后来分配他们这一周的生活，有多少钱用在吃饭上，有多少钱可能用在娱乐上，对。但是对于富人来说，他们就不会说我要按着周然后来计划我现在有的这些钱，他们的计划可能更长远，他们的这个就是说计划的时间区域可能会更宽广一点。比如说他们可能会计划未来2年、未来5年他们的这个发展，然后但是穷人的话，他可能就只能是在短时间然后来计划，比如说下一周怎么样，然后下一个月怎么样。
I think there are two ways to define rich and poor these days. Is number one, of course, the materialistic side, where whether you have enough money is, of course, rich and poor and how you define it. But for me, the second one is also how you define the rich and poor when it comes to family, of how rich you are when it comes to family relationships. Because there are people around me, and I've seen families who are rich in money, materialistic stuff, but not rich in family relationships, because just because they have enough money, they would pay for everything, like the nanny who raised the kids, or the driver who takes the kids everywhere, or the tutor who teaches everywhere. So there's no real interaction between the kids and the parents. And I think that, in a way, is also being poor, because it doesn't have any relationships or any bonding between the families. So I think the best way is to have a balance between materialistically rich and also family relationship being rich. And being a family, I think having both parts and making a nice balance between these two standards are very important when it comes to life.
Do you think you have had any advantages or disadvantages in your life based only on your wealth?
There is a moment that I keenly realized that the money does keep me down. The lack of money, not money. The lack of money does keep me down. That is when I graduated from university and I had a chance to study in the USA. I got 2 offers. One from a very great university, that is Columbia University, and the other is from a relatively anonymous university. It's a modest university. The difference between them is if I choose the offer from Columbia University, I have to pay like 30,000 grand a year for the tuition. I don't have the money. My parents didn't have the money, and there's no hope we can get the money anywhere, so I can only turn it down. Coming to think of it, if I had the money at the time and went to Columbia University, maybe my career would be advanced, like for several years of worse, or maybe I would choose a completely different path other than the path I have lived through. So the let's say a modest amount of money, we think for now, actually made a big impact on my path of life and path of career. So that's the moment I realized money does matter, especially for the people coming from a relatively poor background.
I think I was more privileged, and I thank my parents for that. Was having the good experience that I had when I was a child, where I was able to be grown up overseas, raised overseas, and had the privilege of going to international schools where I was able to experience a lot of stuff, which helped me be the way I am and molded me the way I am right now. And that's why I think it's very important for my kids as well to get the international experience that they can have. And I think this is all thanks to the wealth that I had from my parents and that I can continue as well. So I think that in a way is the privilege that I had so far and the advantage that I have versus my peers. And that is why my standard of raising my kids was also to have this advantage and privilege that I could support and I could have. So I would like my kids to have that advantage as well.
당신은 재산의 차이가 우리 시대에도 영향을 미친다고 생각을 하십니까?
네, 작던 크던 분명히 영향을 줄 것이라고 생각됩니다. 누구나 알 수 있는 빈부격차는 갈수록 더 커지는 추세고요. 그것은 세상의 시스템이 엄청난 변혁이 생겨가지고 바뀌지 않는 한 우리 자녀 세대들의 미래에도 기회가 제한되는 것 등의 형태로 다양한 형태로 영향을 줄 것이라고 생각됩니다. 누구도 미래를 확실하게 예측할 수는 없지만 인공지능과 로봇의 시대를 노동으로부터의 해방으로 보는 긍정적인 시선과 더 소수 기득권자가 그들에게 권력이 집중되는 시대의 도래할 것이다라고 생각되는 부정적인 시선이 있습니다. 만약에 그게 후자라면 더욱더 자산과 지성이 많은 영향을 좌우할 것이라고 생각됩니다. 그것은 분명히 우리 자녀 세대들에게도 영향을 줄 것이라 믿습니다.
我不认为现在经济状况是公平的。
那为什么不公平呢？
首先，在过去几十年里，整个世界的财富也是经历了一个比较快的增长阶段，但在这个很快的增长阶段里面，更多的财富向更少的人手里聚集了。然后相比来说，可能现在的穷人比20-30年以前的穷人所拥有的财富比例更少了。对，所以我不觉得目前的经济环境可以称之为是公平的，而我也不认为这种公平真的有一天可以真的实现。
那你为什么说现在的穷人比以前的穷人拿的东西还要少呢？
我觉得这个是有数据支持的。如果你去查一下，然后一般它都会有经济学上的统计，然后就是世界上多少的人，然后占有了多少的财富。那么这个数据在今天和在20年之前相比，变得更夸张了。对，差不多是这样。而且我觉得从道理上来说也是对的，因为富人的财富主要来自于财富增值，而财富增值的速度是远远高于劳动力交换金钱的速度的。 而这一点至少在过去几十年都没有变过，而且就我感觉，这种比例的悬殊仍然在加大。
所以你的意思是用英文说我们的 wealth gap 一直在增长？
对。
아니요, 절대 공평하다고 생각하지 않습니다. 가난한 환경에서 자란 사람은 삶에서 더 많은 난관과 장애물을 만나게 된다고 생각하고요. 여러 측면에서 기회를 박탈당하거나 다가와도 현실과 타협해야 되기 때문에 포기해야 되는 경우가 많을 것이라고 생각합니다. 심지어 주어지지 않는 경우도 많을 수 있다고 생각하고요. 특히 교육이나 경험치를 쌓을 수 있는 부분, 다양한 부분에서 경험을 쌓아가야 되는 것도 굉장히 필요한데 그런 측면에서는 더더욱 격차가 벌어질 수밖에 없다고 생각하고 그래서 그런지 저는 부는 항상 세습되고 있다고 생각합니다.
如果你感觉到，你不管你生活在任何阶层，然后你在各个阶层当中都没有感觉到太大的差别的话，就是说你没有自卑，你没有在任何方面然后感觉到和别人享受到了不同的特权，或者是你之前说的机会的话，就说明这个社会是公平的。
I guess a lot of people would agree with me these days that economy is not so fair because it depends on which starting point you start off, that your ending finish line is very different. So these days especially, you need to be privileged enough to have a good start, and which leads to a good end. And I see that more with this generation and with this economy so far. So in a way, I would say that it's not really fair.
지금에 있는 교육 시스템이 공평하다고 생각을 하나요? 모든 아이들이 같은 기회들을 받고 있는다고 생각하나요?
아니요, 절대 그렇지 않습니다. 부잣집에서 자라는 아이들은 가난한 집에서 자라는 아이들보다 더 많은 질 좋은 교육의 소스와 기회가 주어지고요. 예를 들면 좋은 학교의 교육에 더해 방과 후 다양한 학원 교육과 경험을 제공해주는 프로그램, 그리고 예체능 프로그램에까지 참가합니다. 유학, 국제학교, 사립학교 등으로 출발선과 경로도 다르고요. 심지어 가정 내외에서도 위의 재무교육, 에티켓, 인적관리 등등 교육과 무엇보다도 성공한 부모들의 경험치와 자문으로 인해 첩경, 지름길 안내서, 선택지를 보고 시작한다고 말씀드릴 수 있을 것 같습니다.
What do you think was the breakthrough moment when you finally escaped your childhood disparities?
I think I had a very unusual case of a breakthrough lasting as long as 10 years. It's not like a lot of other people who could remember a exact moment or exact year he made the breakthrough from the limit and trap of life so they could escape. I took like 10 years to escape the usual orbit. I can't say it's an orbit of poverty, but it was the orbit that I cannot exact my pursuit in life and a way to pursue financial success. But it took me 10 years. I can name that 10 years. That is from maybe the later half of my college education and the first several years when I study in the USA and the later when I go back to China. It took 10 years for me to switch orbit from the orbit that is prescribed by the society or by my original family or by the social normal standard, jumping out of it into a career and orbit that I chose for myself. It took me 10 years.
那如果你可以的话，你会对经济做出任何改变吗？
对于整体的经济来说，如果有机会，或者是有可能，就作为一种假设吧，那我肯定是要对它进行一些调整或者是变化的。就比如说就是说资源分配上，然后有一些调整。 因为现在总体来说还是，我觉得在新西兰它的中低水平，人群之间的这个资源分配还是比较公平的，但是在就是高收入和中收入，以及或者是更高收入这个水平这个档次的，档次来说，它是分配不那么公平的。所以如果可以调节，我肯定是会去在这个高收入和中收入这个差距上，然后要做一些调整。
완벽하게 그게 해결되기는 정말 어렵다고 생각합니다. 그런 세상은 유토피아적인 세상은 현실과는 조금 거리가 있다고 생각하고요. 만약 할 수 있는 방법이 있다면 더 질 좋은 교육 기회와 교육 기회에 대한 균등한 제공을 해야 되고 공평하고 좀 합당한 임금, 물가를 반영할 수 있는 임금, 노동 가치를 좀 인정해 줄 필요가 있다고 생각하고요. 아무래도 지금 현재가 아무래도 노동의 가치보다는 자산의 가치가 굉장히 높아지고 있는 추세이기 때문에 그런 것들에 대해서 다시 한번 생각을 해봐야 될 것 같습니다. 그리고 점진적인 세금 정책이 필요하고요. 무엇보다도 노블리스 오블레주 같은 문화의 정착이 빈부격차를 조금이라도 줄일 수 있다고 생각합니다. 물론 현실적인 어려움이 분명히 존재한다고 생각하고요.
就比如说，就我提到的，以现在的经济模式里面有一个典型的特点，就是那么穷人他花了大量的时间去劳动，然后但是他换回来的钱很多时候只够他的生活所需，在这种情况下他没有任何可能性改变自己的生活现状。所以我觉得对于政府福利现在倾向于给很多不工作的人发福利，那么但是他们可能一定程度上忽视了很多正在努力工作但是刚刚收入够标准的人。这一部分人其实他们的生活是最需要被改变的。而我了解到的一些情况就是，甚至有一些不工作的人，他拿到的福利甚至比拿最低收入的人得到的结果还要好。所以他们在问政府官员的时候，最后自己得到了一个结论说，如果我去找一份最低收入的工作，那么我的经济状况会比现在变得还糟。那么我为什么要选择放弃我的福利而去找一份力所能及的工作呢？
I had a lot of thought about that, but there are two policies that I would really like to implement if I have the power. The first is universal basic income. That means a society, a economy is responsible for every person living in there to provide for them a basic income, no matter who they are or what job they do or whether they do any job at all. Universal basic income. It doesn't need to be very much, but it should be enough for a person to maintain the basic living standard like food, clothing, housing, and a decent medication if they were ill, something like that. The reason for that is that I believe that the modern economy of almost all the major countries, okay, a lot of people don't have to do the work because like 20 or 30% of the people in that society is more than enough to work out all the product and okay, materials that is necessary for the whole society to live on. So what would the other majority of the people, like 70% of them, what would they do? What do they have to do? The society for 100 years tried to solve this problem for a long time, but there's no good solution. For some countries, there are great welfare, like in New Zealand. For countries like China and Korea, the solution is much more harsh. Maybe invent senseless jobs, maybe just to share the workload to more people, but everybody is in a inadequate condition, that they're not paid enough and they work too much. So there are a lot of solutions for this problem, but none of them I think is better than prescribed universal basic income. I think that would cover most of people, to give them a safe net that they won't fall down to the abyss of poverty. And when they really need to change their life, to have better things, to do better works, to advance in career, to learn something, they don't have to worry about the basic material conditions, and they can give themselves a safe net so they could move on. I think that's the first important policy. So the money need to come from somewhere. That's okay. The trouble about policy, you have to think it through. You can't only imagine good things and give it for free. The money has to come from somewhere. I think the best and the most just, the most fair way to get the money is to tax. So the next question is, who do you need to tax? I think my choice is, I would like to put substantial tax on capital instead of on labor. Do you understand the difference? The tax on labor is the tax on the people who really work with their skills and time and energy. And the tax on capital is a tax on the rich, on those people who make their money by simply having money. So I think that is the only fair and a sustainable way to go. But of course, I can imagine if really I am in that position with that power, I would probably be assassinated before that.
최근에 새로 생긴 법들, 특히 부유세 같은 것에 대하여 어떻게 생각을 하나요? 이런 법들이 당신의 가족을 어떤 영향을 줄 것 같습니까?
먼저 거시적인 관점에서 옳은 방향으로 가려는 단계라고 생각합니다. 물론 좋은 움직이지만 실효성 논란이 있을 것 같고요. 또한 중산층을 타겟으로 먼저 손쉽게 행정하려고 하겠지만, 진짜 부는 소수에게 거의 다 편중되어 있기 때문에 정말 그 소수의 부유층이 자발적으로 움직일 수 있는 정책이, 획기적인 정책이 있어야 한다고 생각하고요. 이것이 정말 힘있게 효과적으로 적용되고 실현될 수 있어야지만 진짜 이 세상에 변화가 올 것이라고 생각합니다.
那你认为跨越这个经济障碍，然后变得更加富有，是否有些困难呢？
我觉得有一些阶级跨越它是比较难的，就比如说比如说你说的从穷人跨越到工薪阶层吧。然后首先因为就是你如果是非常穷的时候，你的选择是很少的，所以你的选择少，然后你就只能按照已有的选择，然后来每天按部就班的生活。如果你是中产阶级，你可以就是说自己选择有一段时间你不工作，然后你去让自己享受生活也好，你去让自己去创业也好，然后就说有更多的机会改变你的生活。但是对于穷人来说，然后他们就没有这样的机会，他们不可能不去工作，或者他们不可能得到工作，就是说这样这个他的选择是很少的。对于富人来说，那他们就选择会更自由一些，因为他们可以为自己的选择去买单，去随便的买单。然后但是穷人来说，他为自己的选择他买不了单。有一些如果你为自己的选择需要买单的话，对于穷人来说他可能会更穷。
我觉得尤其在现有的经济模式下，其实是非常困难的。这一点我们曾经做过一个调研， 在几年前的时候，我们有过一个想法，想试试在新西兰是不是可以开始经营一家 shop。那么我们经过一段时间的调研，我们发现了一个问题，就是在新西兰，你如果作为一个普通人，那么你现在有一个 idea 想开始一门自己的生意，然后哪怕只是经营一个小的 shop，它需要的成本非常非常惊人，惊人到一般的普通人，一般打工工作的普通人，家里如果没有足够的积蓄，他是没有足够的钱来支持他，哪怕 start 这样一个非常 little 的一个 shop。这一点上跟中国国内对比，可能中国国内的这种在几年前这种环境就会相对好一些，因为同样你开始一个新的生意，然后你打算有一个 idea， 然后打算开一个商店，那么你的投入的成本可能在中国和新西兰是5倍的关系，就是中国只需要1/5的成本，而在新西兰需要一个非常高的成本，这个高的成本挡住了绝大部分人去做这种尝试，最后的结果就是开商店的人，他往往是开过商店的人，他可能已经有了自己的一家商店，那么他再开第2家或者第3家，那么也就是变成真正拥有财富的人才有能力让财富增值，那么没有财富的人，即使他看到了这样有一个机会，他可以做这样的一个创业，做这样的一个小的 startup， 但是他付不起这个成本，所以我是觉得，尤其在新西兰的这个创业环境，确实是不是那么友好。
I think these days the economic barrier and defining rich and poor is getting higher and higher. So if you start off rich, as I mentioned before, if you start off rich, there's a easier chance of you staying on that level versus being economically poor and starting off. You have to work harder, double or triple or even more to achieve the same thing. So having a different starting point really matters these days, and I think it also has an impact in you in growing up in life and how you treat life or how you take life as it is as well. So for me, I would say being the privileged few or the lucky few, because I had a easier starting point thanks to my parents. I think that really had an impact in me, and being the way I am, being more positive in life, because I would think, okay, if I want to do it, I don't have to worry about, my next school fee being paid or going to any institution that I wanted. I could really focus on what was important to me as a student and achieving stuff that helped me or shape me the way I am right now. So I think it's really important that you have what you have and appreciate what you have. And living life to its fullest, because it's not everyone that's that privileged. And thanks to my parents who helped me have this life that I have right now, I will have to try my best to keep it this way so that my kids can also enjoy the privilege and do what they want and live life to the fullest, and also have that privilege to, raise their kids with the same background and the same privilege they are receiving right now.
It's extremely difficult. Yes, for everyone. Because the society works in a way that wanted for you, no matter you are poor or you're rich, they wanted you to be in your original place, to keep being where you are right now. For the poor, the society works in a way to keep you poor. For the rich, the society work in a way, of course, that is your effort by yourself to keep you rich. That is the basic way society works. So for anyone who want to climb up that wealth ladder to get richer, you need to basically work against the society and sometimes against human nature. So for anyone, it is a very hard path to follow. The first thing kept you there is you don't understand how it works. For many people, they wouldn't develop to a point that they could understand in their whole life. So they are hopeless, they're always kept there. So for myself, I consider myself who actually worked a little bit up the ladder. I think it took a lot of effort and sometimes luck, and sometimes against the advice of your parents, the teaching of your school, the normal, let's say, instruction and expectation of the society around you. You work against them. I don't mean you need to fight them. It's not a fight because a fight always causes harm. But you do need to work against them. That means you see the truth of life, see the real way society works that is probably hidden from you carefully and with tricks. You see them first, and you understand what you want, and you work according to your own wish and your own understanding instead of what other people told you, what the school told you, what the propaganda told you, what the TV told you, what the internet told you. I think that is the hardest part. Okay, the lack of money is maybe the second hardest thing, but that's workable. That's easier to overcome. The hardest thing to overcome is the social awareness and the understanding on your social ladder that is designed to keep you there. You need to work against that. So that is the hardest part. Altogether, when all factors add together, that makes your path extremely hard if you want to go out.
That was Jacob Boo, Edison Mang, Amy Wu, Sue Kim, Andy Deng, Juwon Moon, and Isa Yan. And this is socioeconomic inequality, the worldwide global issue at its finest.
Do you believe that you are rich or poor, based on your living conditions and opportunities?
Once I was rich. I can still remember those long days when I was savoring caviars. I was rich as Lady Gaga, but now I'm living under this cave, eating leaves for my dinner. I think I'm very poor right now.
Right. Did you do anything as a child to help your family?
Yes, I did. I sold some jades and some diamonds, but like those are all the past memories.
I see.
My past memories.
Do you think you would have been happier if you were born into a wealthy or poor family?
I think I would be happier if I was born in a poor family. Maybe I can learn more stuff rather than just lying on the sofa and doing nothing every day.
What do you think are the differences between the rich and poor?
The difference is huge. Trust me. I was a rich person, but the difference is more like the share of resources. Since when I was rich, I get to go to anywhere I want, anywhere, like literally anywhere. But now I can only stay here in this small city, doing nothing every day.
Have you ever felt as if others might have had more opportunities than you, only due to their financial family background?
Yes. Do you remember that Jacob F. Boo? I think he's like those hypocrites who's I kind of want to laugh at him right now because he's such a hypocrite. You get me? Like, he says he's rich, but he's just using his parents' money. Like, what's the point of that?
If you had the power to create a policy that would address wealth inequality, what would it look like, and how would it affect society?
I will pay everyone the same amount. Like, I sound kind of like communism, but like I will pay everyone the same amount. Just everyone deserves. Yeah, everyone deserves better. Like better than this, better than living under a cave.
Are you? Everything after action will be filmed. Are you sure?
Stand by.
Are you sure you want to start off like this?
Me.
Stand.
5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
I have to swallow.
You're gonna be talking with your mouth full in the interview.
This is gonna be a waste of time.
There's a silver spoon in my mouth.
Hurry up. Are you done? Oh my. No eating. If you eat, I will murder you.
Please go ahead.
Get the butcher's knife.
我觉得是挺困难的。你再重问吧。
Cut.
No, don't cut.
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What
What the hell was that?